Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Charlie Morton officially out for the NLDS, so I want to update my Braves postseason roster. I don't even think we've done it on the show yet, but we have a week left. I think this is right. It's always difficult because the Braves will surprise you, but what I did come up with, I think, is right. I've talked about it a million times. We can talk about the starting pitchers first. There should only be three of them. I didn't include Kyle Wright as a starting pitcher. He pitched out of the bullpen the other day. He is in my bullpen. But the three starting pitchers to me are Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder. Fried will get those 2 starts. Spencer Strider should get those 2 starts. And then Bryce Elder is sandwiched in between. I don't really think there's any questions about that. And that's how the Braves are going to do it, unless Fried's not healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that's worst case scenarios. Fried can't go. And in that case, I don't even know what you do. Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder twice. I mean, that's a nightmare scenario.
That is what you would do. And then as far
Bullpen
as that
in the third game,
I imagine it would be Kyle Wright starts the game, go as long as he can go, and then, bullpen. I think that's what it would have to be. I don't know what else they would do. I mean, unless you're going to start like a rookie, like A.J. Smith-Shawver or Darius Vines or – I just can't see that. So I think it would be
Alan Winans.
I think it would be Kyle Wright. Go as long as you can go, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 innings until he runs into some trouble and then move on. The bullpen is where things are always going to be the biggest question marks. Raisel Iglesias, AJ Minter, Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, Kirby Yates, Michael Tonkin, Jesse Chavez. I think those 7, there's no doubt about those guys. Do I love it? No, it's not perfect, especially Kirby Yates. I don't know how much you trust him, but he's your 5th guy. I trust Michael Tonkin. Is it amazing? No. I do trust Jesse Chavez. He's looked good since coming back. The 8th spot I gave to Kyle Wright. As I mentioned, he came out of the bullpen for the first time. I think he's going to be your long reliever. I mean, not your only long reliever. Tonkin can give you multiple innings. Jesse Chavez can give you multiple innings. But, I think Kyle Wright is one of those guys. I'm looking specifically at Bryce Elder. In a hypothetical game 3, I think the max he's going to give you is 5 innings. Like, I don't think they're even going to go into, like, they're not going to give Bryce Elder a third time through the rotation in a playoff series. I don't care if he throws 5 shutout innings. Like, think about Ian Anderson, how they just he threw 5 shutout innings. We got what we needed out of him. I think really what you're trying to get out of Bryce Elder in that third game is like 3 to 4 innings. That's really probably it. And then you turn it either to Kyle Wright, Jesse Chavez, Michael Tonkin, whoever hasn't pitched obviously will have an impact in that. But I think that is the game plan. The 9th spot I gave to Brad Hand. Don't love Brad Hand, but he's a veteran. He's really good against lefties, and you only have one other lefty. So that's pretty much set in stone as well as 2. And then the 10th spot is really where I gave it to Colin McHugh. I don't really know who they're going to give it to. Hopefully they don't need a 10th reliever in this entire series because, I mean, listen, you could justify Jackson Stevens, Darius Vines, Alan Winans even. There's a bunch of guys you could justify. I gave it to McHugh. He pitched 2 scoreless innings in Gwinnett the other day with 4 strikeouts. Maybe Nick Anderson, if he looks a little bit better. He hasn't looked great, but I let's just hope we don't have to get to a 10th reliever in this hypothetical NLDS series because it's not a lot of sexy options.
No, there's not. Outside of the top 4 guys, I don't trust much of the bullpen. And honestly, Kirby Yates is probably that 5th guy that's, going to be used in those high leverage situations. But I do trust Jesse Chavez a whole lot more. And I don't know why, because in terms of like peripherals and everything I've seen, Jesse Chavez has gotten hit hard. And Kirby Yates has had an incredible year this year. Like he really has. It's just, I don't know what it is. I just trust Jesse Chavez's face more. That's what it is. This is not a great situation for the Braves losing Charlie Morton. But as I said yesterday, go check it out on the YouTube if you missed it, Sports Talk ATL. It doesn't matter what the bullpen is because everybody's bullpen's shaky. Everybody's bullpens has got holes. Everybody's bullpen has given up blown saves. Everybody's rotation has question marks. The Braves aren't alone in these issues. What the Braves do have that nobody else has is a historically great lineup. Now, Ronald Acuna goes down. Matt Olson goes down over this final stretch. Then we can start panicking. Until that happens, I'm not going to go totally off the rails because this offense has what it takes to carry the entire team to a World Series and eventually raise the Commissioner's Trophy. It's that good. The pitching is just like we said. I said this yesterday. Even if Charlie Morton didn't get hurt, guys were going to have to step up, and that's just even more true today than it was yesterday before the injury. Guys are going to have to step up. That's always been the case in October. That's always been the case in every single playoff, regardless of the sport. You're going to have unlikely heroes to accomplish your ultimate goal. And it's very true for the Braves, who are dealing with a bevy of injuries.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't include them, but they also have Max Fried and Spencer Strider, which are they're probably the best 1-2 punch in all of baseball. So it's not do or die. As long as Max Fried's healthy, I mean, those guys, if you win all the games that they start in October, guess what? You're raising the commissioner's trophy. And you go look at how the Braves have performed when Spencer Strider's on the mound over the entire season. They've lost 6 games maybe. You go look at how they've performed with Max Fried. They've only lost a few games. If you can go out there and win those starts in October, it doesn't matter what the rest of the guys do. That's the honest to God truth.
The same can be said for Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder's had a rough, shaky second half, and the Braves are still 4 or 5 games over 500 in games he started. So, like I said, the offense, the pitchers just got to give them a little bit of something, keep them in games, and this offense will take care of the rest.
Yeah, and for the most part, if your starting pitchers can give you any length, you really only are going to be relying on those top 4 relievers. I mean, like AJ Minter, we've seen him; he can give you multiple innings. Jesse Chavez, I still trust him; he can give you multiple innings. A lot of these guys can go more than just 1 inning. Even Raisel Iglesias, in a pinch, if you need him to go get 4 or 5 outs, can give you 4 or 5 outs. So that's a lot of stuff that you're going to see in the postseason that you haven't seen in the regular season, but it will be very prevalent, especially when you don't love the depth of this bullpen. Some guys are going to have to give you multiple innings, especially in close games. There's going to be a game where you might have to punt, and you're just going to have to say, hey, you got to give me some length here, Tonkin, try to keep us in the game. But we're 4 runs down. Any game that's close, you're going to see these high leverage guys go multiple innings. And, it's not the worst thing. Let's get into the position players. I don't think there's a ton. Like catchers, Travis d'Arnaud, Sean Murphy. Infielders, you got your 4 starters in Riley, Albies, Arcia, and Olsen, and then you get Nicky Lopez. He's going to be there as your bench guy. The final spot on the roster is the really one that's only the question. You have your 5 outfielders: Pilar, Rosario, Michael Harris, Ronald Acuna, Eddie, Marcell Ozuna. I don't know. I might have forgotten Kevin Pilar. Yeah, whatever. Those 5 guys. It's like, do you go with Forrest Wall, who can give you, your stolen bases in the pinch, or do you go with a guy like Vaughn Grissom, who can give you a little more offense? Vaughn Grissom has been great, and Gwinnett. My thing is, I don't see a situation with a designated hitter where you're subbing in Vaughn Grissom for anybody in this lineup. So at the end of the day, you go with the guy in Forrest Wall that he could be used in all 5 games as a pinch runner. There's a situation probably every game where you might need a stolen base. So I think it's going to be Forrest Wall getting that final spot, and that pretty much wraps up the NLDS roster. And I think that's what it's going to be, except for that 10th spot in the bullpen where I put Colin McHugh, and I said it could be 7 other guys. I think the other 9 are locks. I think everything else is pretty much set in stone, unless something changes, like injuries. But
the fact of the matter is, Forrest Wall presents something, brings something to the table that Vaughn Grissom and the rest of the roster doesn't. So let's say Eddie Rosario is out there and it's a pitching matchup. We need a righty. Oh, we don't have Vaughn Grissom. We have Travis d'Arnaud or Sean Murphy, or Kevin Pilar, whoever didn't get that start that day. They bring something that Vaughn Grissom already does, and Forrest Wall brings something that Vaughn Grissom doesn't. It's that simple.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that is what it's going to be. I don't think there's too many questions about any of the rest of it. There's some vulnerability there without Charlie Morton. I think we can all see it. But listen, that lineup, Max Fried, Spencer Strider, I still feel incredibly confident going on. Coming up after the break, Marcell Ozuna, how close was he to being released by the Braves when he was struggling?